Well, good morning to you. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we've got some special guests for you and your HCC news and information, all that and more for the next half hour. So stick around for the show. Frank Cooper, it's a Tuesday. Frank is here with us. Frank, it's good to see you.
Pleasure being here, boss, man. Happy Tuesday to you too, man. How you doing?
I'm good. You know, I was reading an article the other day, and we could talk more about this in the show later, but I don't know if you remember, you may have been too young, but Houston and Texas and really the world were hit by a massive movement back in the late 70s called Love Ya Blue. ESPN did an incredible article on the Oilers back when they literally ruled the world. It was the days of Cowboys, NFL, Texas, an urban cowboy. It was a fascinating article, and I want to touch on that later because, you know, it's something that the local football team is never going to sniff that type of success.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that. I was watching NFL films a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about the 70s. They're talking about the great players like Billy Washington Johnson and the Steel Curtain Steelers defense, and they mentioned the Oilers and Bum Phillips and their offense and how revolutionary they were. You know, and I wish I could just be a fly on the wall watching how physical the game was back then. Like,
it was physical. It was incredible. It was nothing like it is now, but those were the days. Frank, we'll talk more about it later, but let's remind folks about our social media and everything we've got going on.
Absolutely, man. So, like, if you want to watch the latest episodes of HCC Up to the Minute, all you got to do is go to YouTube, hit the notification button, search HCC Up to the Minute for all the latest interviews on campus, campus news around your campuses, what's going on with your college presidents, all student events. Also, we're on social media too. So Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, all major social media platforms. HCC Up to the Minute is on there. So let's grow the show.
All right, Frank. So we've got a couple of special guests. Nissi Hamilton's going to be joining us, but I don't think she's got her camera on right now. Nissi, are you there? There she is. How are you, Nissi? Good morning to you.
I'm doing great. Good morning, Todd. Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Good to see you again. I'm glad you didn't drive to HCCTV because we're doing everything remotely today.
Yes.
You were about to head downtown to our station, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was on my way.
I'm glad we caught you before you did. Well, you've got a very important event coming up you're going to talk about. We're going to speak with you more about that later in the show. So if you would, please stand by. And right now, we're going to start off first. We're going to take you out to the Tomball area. You never really think of chocolate and barbecue, but there's a restaurant in Tomball that's doing both of them superbly. And we've got Scott Moore, the chef and owner of Tejas Chocolate Barbecue. Good morning to you, Scott.
How you doing?
We are doing great now. You were going to join us a couple of weeks ago. Then we got hit by the winter storm Uri, which put all of our lives on hold for about a week and a half. Did you guys suffer any damage through that?
We had a minor amount of damage. We had a little bit of lost product in a deli display, cooked product ready to go. We didn't have power to the building for 36 hours. And so that was it. We didn't have any pipe damage. We drained the water out of the building. This building we operate in was originally constructed in 1907.
Oh, wow.
And so up on pier and beams, and I knew there's no way it's going to handle it. So we drained all the water out of the building. And so we didn't have any pipe problems or anything like that. We just were closed for 3 days because of the city water was not able to get to us and didn't have power consistently. It was off and on and off and on for, 3 or 4 days. So we got open Friday of that week. So we lost 3 days of business. So it wasn't like it was a tragedy, but it was certainly an inconvenience and quite the experience of, to see that kind of snow and that kind of weather in Tomball is something else.
Yeah, it certainly was. You know, I grew up in not far from where you are. Just to date myself, I was around when they opened North Oaks Mall for the first day when they opened their theater. So that tells you how old I am. I was a young teen back then and was able to enjoy that. But you guys have been around for a little while, and people really don't imagine chocolate and barbecue. And the question I've been getting asked when we talked about having you on the show a few weeks ago, people are wondering, do you ever meld the two? Because I know you do both, chocolate and barbecue, but people are wondering, do you ever do any moles or anything where you meld the chocolate and the barbecue together?
Yeah, we've since we opened, we have a mole sauce. My brother Greg is the chef. I'm really the pit master and cook and chocolate maker. And So he came up with we call it mole Q. It's a mole sauce, traditional ingredients. And but we make a little bit of a barbecue version. So it's got some extra vinegar in it. It's got a little barbecue twang to it, but it is a barbecue mole sauce that's available every day. And which goes really especially well with like our smoked chicken and our turkey and our pork belly. Yeah.
So there you go, folks. There is a combination of the two, but really the chocolate and barbecue go together. But did you start with the chocolate first or the barbecue first?
Well, that depends. I mean, I encourage chocolate first dining for sure. And you're forced to face and look at this chocolate display as you're waiting in line to order barbecue. So most of the time you're going to give in to the sight of a chocolate truffle. And whether you eat that before you get the register is on you. So I don't frown on it at all.
So tell us about the barbecue itself. You're the pit master, and what are some of your specialties, and what is the most popular barbecue item you have on your list?
Well, we're in Texas, and brisket is king, obviously, and so it's in a league of its own. We run a Creekstone all-natural prime grade brisket. That's a really beautiful product to start with, and it's 3-to-1 over all the other smoked meats. But we do pork ribs, and we make our own sausage. We're pretty well known for a link that I call chile relleno. It's got some roasted poblanos and pepper jack cheese in it. It's an all beef link. It will remind you of a Tex-Mex combo plate when you eat it.
Right.
So it's kind of this combination where you see these Tex-Mex influences coming into Texas barbecue. They're kind of colliding there. So we're getting well known for that kind of thing. We have like nachos and quesadillas on the menu. It's Taco Tuesday, so we do tacos. We have tacos on the menu every day, but Tuesday we do a smoked barbacoa, and so those are the things that are really popular. And then pork ribs, pork belly, smoked chicken, turkey, kind of the usual suspects. We put a heavy emphasis on great side dishes also, and we're well known for a dish that is Michelle's recipe, my Michelle, called carrot souffle.
Oh wow!
And it's an orange looking thing. It doesn't taste like carrots. It's got a souffle texture to it. It's airy and creamy, slightly sweet. Happens to go very well with smoked meats and beef in particular. Our potato salad is a recipe that my brother and we grew up on. My grandma would make it on Sunday. That's a very simple recipe. We do things like roasted cauliflower au gratin and bacon coleslaw. So we put a lot of effort into the side dishes that go with the barbecue. So we're almost as well known for that as we are the barbecue meats.
Well, that's great to know, because it really, to me, it ruins a barbecue place when you have side dishes that don't match the barbecue, and that really, the side dishes just make it. Here's another thing that I hear all the time. I travel throughout the South, and every summer I spend time up in Tennessee, and they rave about their barbecue in Tennessee and North Carolina, and it may work for them, but they'll give you brisket. And I even went to one place because they said they had Texas style brisket. Well, they give you the brisket, they shred it up, then they dump sauce all over it. To me, that's not Texas brisket. Did you travel around and learn more about different barbecues? I know we've got Frank on the show. He's a Kansas City fan. They've got their own style of barbecue, but it seems like every region has their own style.
Totally. There's definitive reason. Hang on one second. Of course, my yard guy would show up right.
Well, of course.
I can't. If I get his attention, I see the leaf blower to slow down. But every region's got. You got Kansas City, you got Southeast style, and Texas is its own definitely genre. And if I could throw a rock at him, I could get his attention. So Texas is about the meats without the sauce. Sauce is a side and an option, but it's more meat centric, so you can actually taste the meat. And I like it all, honestly. I used to travel all over the place. I love me some North Carolina pork, whole hog, Kansas City burnt ends. I'm not discriminate at all, but I do prefer Texas style barbecue, brisket simple with salt and pepper rub, and that's it, post oak smoke. And it's just, to me, you're letting the meat and the quality of beef that we buy shine through without covering it up with a bunch of stuff.
Amen. That's the way I like my barbecue. You taste that meat first. So it's Taco Tuesday, which is always a wonderful day, anytime on Taco Tuesday. And you're going to make a taco for us.
Yeah. So we have pork tacos. We have pork at the restaurant all the time. today I made a little different variation of that. I smoked the pork, and then I braised it in with some chilies, arbol and guajillo and ancho chilies to give it a bit of a Mexican, Tex-Mexy, Texas red kind of flavor profile. So it's tender pork, and I like the street taco style. So that's what I'm planning on doing today. I can kind of walk you through the process if you like.
Yeah, let's go ahead and see you do it.
So I just want to show you the pork so this was a pork butt, okay? And we break that down into almost carnitas style pieces. And what that does for us, it gets more seasoning on more surface area. So we're going to smoke that for about 3 or 4 hours. If you're at home and you want to do it, you can do it in the oven, roast it in the oven, and then put it in a braising pan. But to smoke it and then braise it a little bit helps get that pork very flavorful with all the seasoning, and then gets it very tender while it's braising. So that's what I have here is a pan of the stuff that's done. So you can see it's hot and ready to go. So there's now you can see the pork pieces there. So they're smoked. You can see that char, that bark that's developed, and then you got this chili braising liquid here going with it. So street taco style for me, a couple of corn tortillas. Got these. I warmed these on the firebox, by the way, on a big smoker. It doubles as a tortilla warmer and while it's smoking meat. So get some meat here. It's got a pulled pork. Get some juices on there. So you can see it's really pork tender. Get some bark in there. And then if you're going street taco, for me, it's a little cilantro.
Oh, yeah.
Some onion. Maybe some queso fresca.
Yep.
And I like a little salsa on mine.
And is that a squeeze of lime that you have over to the side as well?
Got to squeeze a lime on it to
make
it legit, right? You got to
put the lime on it. Oh, yeah.
There you go. Squeeze a lime on there. And now we got us a street taco. A little spicy pork.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. So check them out. Tejas Chocolate and Barbecue. Of course, they're located up in Tomball. Where can folks find you on the web?
So we're at tejaschocolate.com. It's that simple. And that's the way we are on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, Tejas Chocolate.
TejasChocolate.com. We'll have their link in the social media post for this show. Scott, we want to thank you for joining us. Real quickly before you go, what's the most popular chocolate item that you have on your menu?
So it's chocolate truffles. We make a Texas-sized chocolate truffle. They're really big. They're weigh a little over an ounce. And we have flavors like Martha Washington with coconut and pecans in it. We do a frostbite. It's like a peppermint patty. We do a pecan praline, whiskey old fashioned. We have a lot of fun with the truffles, and that's the most popular chocolate dessert and we also do a chocolate bread pudding and a chocolate panna cotta. So chocolate is influenced throughout the building.
We've got to pick up some barbecue and a few pieces of truffles as well. So, Scott, thanks for being here and joining us for the show. We really appreciate you giving a shout out to showing our students, especially our culinary students, how things are done. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. We're going to move on now to Nissi Hamilton. Of course, Nissi's been on the show before. We had such a great time with you before, and it was such an important topic. I saw your name pop up in our rundown last week, Nissi, when we were going through the announcements, and I said, we got to get her back on the show. So here you are joining us once again. I know we talked very much about a very important topic. Yes. Unfortunately, Houston's made the news for Houston trafficking, human trafficking in the Houston area, and it's still a topic that needs to be addressed in our community.
Absolutely. Well, first, Todd, I want to thank you for welcoming me to the show again. We just did a coffee talk for HCC students and to address issues with the international students that go to HCC as well, because those are that group, that community are big targets for pimps, because they understand these kids need their visas, they can't work, they need money to stay in school. And so the struggle is different for them than it would be for the average American. And we want to make sure that they're never left out of the conversation when it comes down to HCC, because HCC supports international students. It's the largest university that supports international students. So I deem it necessary for HCC to talk talk about this under, corporate social responsibility. And I really appreciate that. And so to talk about human trafficking, and while it's National Women's History Month, I've said it before, I said it again, I am the 21st century Harriet Tubman. And so
and you've started a new business since we've talked last. You've got Safe Space Training, a survivor's voice for victory as well.
Yes. So we started a Survivor's Voice of Victory a little bit after I left your show, because adultification is the #1 target for human trafficking in the African American community, right? And so these are your poverty homes, your homes that have, less social economic statuses, people who are going to be left out. So pimps are always targeting those children, because most of the times if something's happening in the household and the kid is 13, 14, they're going to cover it up for mom and dad.
Yeah.
And not only that, in Harris County alone, we have over 90,000 children that are left, unresponsible. Nobody's responsible for them, to incarcerated parents.
Not to interrupt you, but here's what really bothers me about this whole issue, because I've read a lot about it. And what I'm hearing is that it involves a lot of social media, and that kids, preteens, are being targeted under the parents' noses, through messaging, social media, whether it be, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, it doesn't matter, but they're really preying on these preteens. And is that the case still?
Absolutely. So since the inception of COVID, sexual exploitation of children have gone up 93%. And so there's a pimp, when asked, that they were like, Nissi, hey, how do we describe this? And I'm like, this pimp is a social media pimp. Yeah. This pimp is not even described in a lexicon, because they're only talking about 2 different types of pimp, which is your Romeo pimp and your gorilla pimp. And he doesn't fit the description. Social media pimp is very, very fluid and affluent in social media practices. He's not just talking to one 12-year-old or one 13-year-old. He's talking to multiple young teenagers at one time. And he's constantly in the practice of talking to them. So this testing that they go through, where they're luring the children online through text messages, right? That's called barrier testing. Yeah. They barrier test the children, where they reel them in, think they're in a relationship, because the children are telling them everything that's going on, and then they have time to sit down and discuss what those issues are and kind of mitigate that conflict for that teenager, and then bring that teenager to a happy place, but with them. And so the erosion comes in, is where I lure you in, and once I get you, then I betray you. Right. Then I deny you access to everything it was that I originally said. This is how, the premise of the relationship was coming.
Well, parents may not realize, though. They may say, well, I keep an eye on my kids, but you're not watching everything. And I guess these pimps are experts at luring these kids just out of the home, where the parent may not even be suspecting. One day your child is with you, the next day they're missing.
Absolutely. So right now, today in Houston, 1 in 4 girls will have been sexually exploited before the age of 18, and 1 in 6 boys will have been sexually exploited before reaching the age of 18. 1 in 3 runaways are approached by pimps before they even approached for help. So that lets me know that there's been a reduction in support services and a safety net for support services. We keep throwing everything that, used to be, it takes a village to raise a kid. Your support service was your next door neighbor. Today's support services is, DFPS or CPS, and they are loaded with so much stuff right now. CPS alone, just dealing with cases of trafficking, they have about 5,000 missing children, teenagers, because of human trafficking. And so this is a problem, because girls run away because they want to be with their pimps. They don't want to go back home. There's a myriad of issues that go on there, and then some girls want to be there. Yeah. That's part of the discussion that most parents aren't talking about, because they're ashamed, embarrassed, or hurt. And that's the reason why I created Safe Space Training.
What are some of the warning signs that parents need to look out for? They may say, well, I keep an eye on the social media, but obviously they're still getting through to these kids.
Absolutely. So if if you know you do not regularly give your daughter money to keep her hair or her nails done, okay, that's a sign.
Yeah.
You know, something's going on here. You know she doesn't have access to that type of money. Something's going on. If she's not selling Girl Scout cookies, or she hasn't created some type of business, that system right there needs to be checked. A lot of parents don't even know that most of the kids have second cell phones. They're looking for the cell phone that they gave them. They're not looking for the cell phone that they're using, the trafficker gave them, and using mom and dad's internet to do their dirty work on the second cell phone versus the first cell phone that's on the parent's plan.
So for the pimps, what is this a huge money-making thing for them? Is that the reason why they're in this, or is it more of a demented sexual thing for them? What is their drive?
Well, their drive is no different than my drive or your drive, Todd. They want financial independence. There's nothing wrong with wanting financial independence. It's the way they go about attaining that financial independence, the reason why it's wrong. Human trafficking is a biological chemical warfare because it affects our children. That means it affects our future. If you got kids that are growing up not conceding that, hey, I can potentially be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, that's no longer the conversation. Then the new conversation becomes, you know, who's going to be my pimp, or who's going to sign me up for this, or who, because that's all the children are rehearsing. It's also domestic terrorism. It's a type of domestic terrorism that schools were not prepared for. And when the churches start back, Todd, to be honest with you, the pastors are not prepared for it either, because they never seen this type of sexual exploitation at this magnitude to be able to create a certain ministry to govern it, where people can come and tell the abuses that have happened to them, and report the significant abuses that have happened to them, and then manage that conflict at the same time while keeping the family together. That's the hardest part, keeping that family together.
And that's one of the biggest challenges, I would imagine, for many families at this time. Niecy, you're the founder and CEO of Safe Space Training. Do you have a website where you have tips that if people or someone is a parent and they want to learn more, where can they go to learn more about this?
Absolutely. www.safespacetraining, all one word, .net. I also created a Facebook group, Safe Space, on my Facebook. So if you guys just, friend me on Facebook or reach out to me, I will definitely add you to that group, free of charge. You guys will get free tips and basically just consult, consult with a paralegal, consult with a coach, consult with a mentor, consult with somebody who is an expert in this industry. I mean, this is what I'm here for. So it's time. The history of Houston has changed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm on the good side of that history, but unfortunately I have to talk about the bad things that required me to be known in that part of history.
Niecy, it's an important subject, and I hope the next time we talk, we make a turn, and we're not in the headlines for being unfortunately one of the leaders in sex trafficking in the Houston area. I hope things change, and I guess from just what it sounds like, it has to start with the discussions, and it has to start in the house with the parents.
Absolutely.
Niecy, thank you for being here this morning, and we look forward to seeing you in person. Next time, we'll have you drive down to 3100 Main. You can join us in the TV. All right?
And it'll be my pleasure. Right. Just so I can hug you.
Yeah, that's right. We look forward to seeing you, and stay safe.
Okay, you too. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Bye, Frank. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to Frank Cooper with our news and information. And Frank, there's a lunch and learn that's happening tomorrow for our faculty, staff, and students.
Absolutely. So spring break is almost here, and this year especially, everyone's looking forward to a break. So join HCC faculty members Renee Edwards and Christy Shell as to pinpoint the importance of disconnecting, not just during spring break, but beyond. So that's tomorrow, 11:30 a.m., March 10th. Check your emails to register.
Well, you know, that winter storm threw us all for a loop, and unfortunately, it postponed one of our big events, the Black History Celebration Through the Arts. HCC's Performing and Visual Arts Center of Excellence is calling its Concert from the Couch. It's happening, folks, and it'll be happening this coming Thursday, March 11th. It's free, of course, from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. You can join spiritual, jazz, classical, musical theater, vocal ensembles, and winners of our poetry contest, all joining us live 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. this coming Thursday. Production services will be provided by Student Life at the West Loop campus. You can join them and check the link out to register for the concert from your couch. We'll have the link in the social media post from the show. Hey, Frank, big news yesterday. One of our students, which we profiled here at HCCTV, one of our former students, is now on American Idol.
Man, shout out to Raven Hearn, man. She was a fine arts alumna here at HCC, and she made it to Hollywood Sunday. So a big shout out to her, man. All HCC and all Houston's behind you. We're very, very proud of you. But please, man, if you watch the show, vote for her. We got to get her. We got to get her to Hollywood and beyond, and get that big old record contract so she can be a star, so we can get on the show, so we can talk about her big road to superstardom. So check out HCC's Throwback Student Success Story on our post after the show. Let's support one of our own, please.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to Nathan Hale, our director. He shot the video for her back in 2017, and that's video is being featured in our social media. So make sure you check it out. One of our own turning into a star. All right, Storm Emergency Fund donations are doubled. HCC's foundation has an emergency relief fund to provide financial relief for students who were affected during this winter storm that happened a couple of weeks. All emergency gifts fund will be matched dollar for dollar up to $25,000 by the HCC Foundation. Check your emails to contribute. Our students need your help, so make sure you do that. There's a couple of hashtags you can use to promote this in social media. We'll have that in the post after the show. All right, Frank, I'm going to skip on down for the sake of time real quickly and just talk quickly about registration. Registration is underway for the next semester here. We have year-round enrollment at HCC. Many of our courses are happening online. The Flex Campus has been postponed for a little while. More on that in the future, but you can take your courses on campus for the lab-based courses. So your labs will happen on the campuses, very small groups. So if you sign up for a course, do it as soon as possible. Summer registration is going to be happening very soon, but you can go to one website for all your registration needs. hccs.edu/now is the site to visit. So make sure you do so. So Frank, we were talking about this at the top of the show, but I don't know if you read it, but check it out. ESPN did a great article on the Oilers when they were Love You Blue back in the 77, 78, 79, all the way through 1980 until they fired Bum Phillips, unfortunately. But I remember those times because I was in high school back then, and the Oilers literally did rule the world at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the major staples of Houston. I mean, they were. Bum was a revolutionary in the way he played the game, the way he coached the game. He had great players like Billy Washington Johnson, Earl Campbell, University of Texas own, and the state of Texas own. So the physicality they played with back in those days, man, and just think about. If the Oilers didn't have the Steelers to contend with, the Cowboys, I mean, those two teams basically ruled the 70s. If they didn't have those two teams to contend with, ain't no telling how many championships they would have won in the 70s.
Well, it's funny because both times, I think it was 78 and 79, they went to the AFC Championship game and they didn't win. They went 2 years in a row. But when they got back to Houston, they didn't know what to expect, but they promised everyone they'd show up at the Dome for a party, and the players didn't want to go. They were like blown out one year by I think it was the Steelers in 78. They got blown out, and they showed up at the Astrodome back then. There were 50,000 people there at the Astrodome to cheer them on, and it was an incredible thing. And then they lost the next year in a close, very controversial game because of a blown call. But they lost to the Steelers again, and they show up again, and once again, they had 70,000 people at the Astrodome cheering them on, celebrating the Love You Blue. They just loved that team.
Texan fans will never understand the
They'll never understand
fandom and love that they had, that fans back then had for the Oilers. I mean, that team was revolutionary. They really set the trend on consistency and productivity on the football field. They had a Class A guy and Bum Phillips. And a lot of people don't know, Wade Phillips, who's a coach now. That's his dad. Right. So, a lot of his defensive schemes he got from his father, and just add a little bit more of a modern spin to it. But I mean, Bum was a revolutionary.
And it's funny because Bud Adams, the owner of the Oilers back then in 1980, when he fired Bum Phillips went to the Saints, took a number of players, including Earl Campbell, with him, and Bud Adams asked Wade Phillips, his son, to still be the defensive coordinator for the Oilers. And he said, no way. Not only did you fire my coach, but you fired my dad. I'm not going to stay and play with you. And that's when Wade Phillips left.
That would have been an awkward Thanksgiving if Wade would have took that job. And
yeah, I don't think Bum would have minded. I really don't. He probably would have thought the son thought that was the best for him, but he didn't want to go sideways with his dad. I don't know. I see the team, the Texans now, and like you said, Texans fans will never get what we had back in the late 70s with the Houston Oilers. They were just incredible. They never won a Super Bowl, but man, they were the most popular team that didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, between them and then you have Foster and Majama in the 80s with Houston with the basketball team, and flash forward to 2021, you might have a nice golden Turner run by U of H. I watched the game Sunday, man. They had a game winner.
Oh yeah, that was a great game.
Oh, against Memphis. It was a great game, and a lot of prognosticators are saying that it could be a number 1 seed going to the tournament. So
yeah, I think we'll learn soon. But boy, it certainly is exciting times for the Cougars. I've read somewhere where they've said this team is as good as the Phi Slamma Jamma teams that were around. So we'll just have to see how it turns out. Exciting times for Houston Cougars. Frank, it's always good to see you. We'll see you again on Friday.
My pleasure, man. It's always a pleasure, boss man.
So tomorrow we've got Andre Herman, faculty chair, division chair of digital communications. We'll talk about digital gaming and simulation, and he'll be unveiling the latest going-ons in the department with virtual reality technology. And looks like we're talking about transfer affairs, Frank.
Absolutely. So we thought we would get straight from the source. So Lenitra Johnson from the HCC and Derek Hutchison from HISD will explain how it's all being handled virtually, of course.
That's right. All that and more tomorrow. Frank will be back Friday. I'll be back tomorrow. And Brittany will be here. So we hope we'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. live on Up to the Minute.